Have you ever wondered if contour and bronzer are really the same thing? They look very much the same. And I know that I have substituted one for the other. Is that okay? Is there a drawback to that? That's what we're going to chat about today. I'm Michelle Fox from Michelle Fox Beauty and Michelle Fox Online. And I love to chat with women over 40 about makeup tips and tricks to make us look our beautiful best. And today we're going to talk about contour and bronzer. They actually are different, but I do think that they can be substituted. We'll talk about that at the end. Right now, we're going to talk about what makes them distinct. Your contour is really meant to sculpt your face. It has a specific purpose and it is applied in a specific area or areas of your face. It's typically matte as opposed to shimmer. It's typically a cooler undertone, and the tools that you apply it with are specific. They're usually a sponge or a tightly bristled brush or a small head brush because you're putting it in a very specific area to accomplish a specific look. Dark colors tend to push back and bright colors tend to bring forward. So when you're sculpting your face and you want to have the look of, let's say, really sculpted cheekbones, a darker color is going to sort of, suck that in. And then the brighter color up on top is going to accentuate, the apples of your cheeks and your cheekbone. So it is used for a very specific purpose. It typically has a certain kind of texture and undertone, and the tools are specific. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a sec. But let's talk about bronzer. Bronzer is more of a wash of color, a wash of warm, usually shimmery color in the areas where the sun hits your face. It's meant to mimic the look that we have when we are in the sun and we don't get sunburned. You can use it any time of year. You can use either of them any time of year. But bronzer is meant to give you that look that you either are still enjoying your summer tan or you just got back from the Bahamas, something like that. Contour is more like a magic wand that is sculpting your face. Let's getting back to bronzer. It's usually a warmer undertone with golds and warm bronze. It's usually shimmery. And since it's meant to just sort of have a wash of color in broader areas, yes, there are specific areas or particular areas of your face where you use it, but it's not like in a very precise spot on your face. It's more where it's sort of a brushing of this color. So because of that, you're going to use usually a big fluffy brush to apply it. It can be a variety of textures like beads. There are highlight and bronzing beads. It can be a pressed powder, but it is usually a loose powder, something that is just easy to just have a dusting of that color. And on the contrary, I didn't mention this before, but your contour is going to be something that is more tightly milled. So it's going to be a cream to powder or a pressed powder. It's pretty rare that it's a loose powder. It might even be like a stick, a creamy stick where you can use it, just the stick itself. You don't have to have an applicator per se. So they have quite a few differences, and I'm going to apply them and talk about my rationale for where I'm applying it. And I think that it will make the difference a little more clear. You can use them in tandem. And so that's basically what I'm going to use today, because I'm going to apply my contour first, and then we'll do a nice dusting of some bronzing powder. Okay. So let's see. There are, like I said, a few different textures or types. The two that I have on hand, one is a stick, which I'm surprised I forgot to mention it right away. But this is, it's a cream on a stick. It makes it super easy to apply. Maybe I'll do one on one side and one on the other. Okay, so we'll use the stick on this side. And when I do my contour, I'm trying to push in this underside of my cheek, okay, to sculpt it. Also, because of my age, I want to lift. So oftentimes you'll see people put it at quite a diagonal under their cheekbone, but I tend to do more of a straight across. Anything that I could do to get a little more lift. So in other words, instead of going like from here down, I'm going to go from here kind of across. There's a bit of a difference there. And so that is a very precise application. And then similarly, I also have a contour powder. Whoops, let me get the lighter one is a highlight powder. We're not talking about that today. So I'm talking about this darker. And so your contour powder has to be several shades darker than your own skin tone. This is for ivory to beige skin tones. There are darker, deeper colors for someone that is darker than I am. And then that is applied with a precise brush. So I've got a couple of options here. You can use a tiny head brush. Like this is actually a concealer brush, but I have used this for my contour. Or this is a really fun brush. I will link it in the description of the video. But this has three areas. There's an area like the big round head, the I want to call it the butt. What would that be? The belly. Let's call the belly. The belly of this would be for your cheek color, and then it's angled so that you can use these bristles at the top to specifically get your highlight in a certain area. But I'm going to be using the bristles along the bottom of the bevel, and that's how I'm going to apply the contour. Should I use both brushes? I guess I could do that. All right, we'll start with this one. So I'm just putting it just on the bottom of those bevels. So let's see. So we did that side. So now I want to do this side. And same thing, I want to come more across. So this is not going to be as dramatic as this. We haven't buffed this one out yet. This, it's a powder. So it's going to be a little more subtle. So I applied it with that. But like I said, you could also use just a real, kind of a skinny brush and apply it that way. But I'm still going to use the, coming toward my nose more so than down. So this is pushing in this area, trying to give my cheek a sexier, more sculpted look. All right. Now this over here, we need to blend out. So I'm going to use a sponge. This is just a typical makeup blending sponge. And you don't want to like push it all over the place. You want to keep it in that area. We're just kind of buffing it out. But you can also use your contour to, like I said, push things back or minimize. So the shape of my head is basically, or my face is square. If my hair was pulled back, you'd see that I have really distinct points up here that, make that look pretty square. And then if my chin were gone, you would just see it's like my face is very boxy. So you could take contour and sort of slim or smooth or minimize the harsh edges, so the angles. So I could do some contour in this area here and this area here, maybe even the bottom of my chin. And if my hair was pulled back, I would be doing it here and here to make my face look more oval and just to soften the edges, like I said. So contour has a very specific placement. It has usually either like a small head brush or an angled brush. Where'd my angled brush go? Or an angled brush like this. So it's more controlled also. Now we're going to talk about bronzer. I have a couple different bronzers. I don't have any bronzing beads on hand, but I've used one more than the other. They both have some shimmer to them. I have seen bronzer without shimmer, but that's actually kind of rare. And it has you can sort of see, maybe you can see that this has a warmer undertone for sure. I'm using a big fluffy brush and I put it on all over. I'll tap off the excess. And this time I'm just brushing it in the areas where sun would naturally hit my face. So if you think of the sun coming down Anything that sort of juts out is where the sun touches. So right above your brows, your nose, the tops of your cheeks, and you want to mimic that. So I could just take this and just kind of brush along the areas where the sun typically would would touch my face. Again, because of the golds and the warm undertone and the shimmer, it just gives your face that look of I've been in the sun, I've got that, the summer tan, the summer glow going, or the vacation glow. With your contour, if you're using a stick, it goes on in a specific area and it's pretty concentrated, and then you're buffing it out. If you're using a powder and you're using a small head brush, again, it's a pretty specific area. But like I said, with the bronzer, this is more of like a dusting or a wash. When the sun is hitting you, it's not hitting you like in one little place. It's hitting you in a general area. And so you may need to go back and reapply until you get the amount of color and warmth that you're looking for. So the contour, I typically would not reapply. You put it on and then you buff it out or smooth it or do whatever you're going to do. But with your bronzer, there's a little more finessing that has to go on. So it just kind of depends on the overall look that you want when you're done. And if you're wearing like a sleeveless top or something that's low, you can definitely put this on your decolletage and your shoulders, and that's going to look really gorgeous too. So getting back to whether they can be, used for each other, I think that if you took a powder concealer and you used a big fluffy brush, you could dust that and get the look of a bronzer. It's not going to have the shimmer or the warmth. And in a similar way, if you took your bronzer and then took a more, small head brush, you could use that to get, some of this depth in here, some of the contour, the sculpting. But again, it's got a different, this is going to be warm and shimmery as opposed to cool and matte. So if you see the need or you see the benefits of both the contour and a bronzer, I think it is to your advantage to buy one of each. But if you primarily only use contour and you occasionally want to use it as a bronzer, then buy your contour and then apply it with a big fluffy brush to get the look of a bronzer. Similarly, if you rarely do contour, but you love your bronzer, buy a quality bronzer. And then when you want to do some contouring on your face, just use a smaller barreled brush to apply it in a more specific area. And you should be able to use that as a contour. So they definitely are different from one another. They do different things. They have different consistencies, different textures. They have different tools that are ideal, and they are applied in different areas of your face. They are different, but they can be used both in tandem, like I just did, or they can be substituted one for the other. On my blog, I will have links for the different products that I've used today. There are also some cult favorites in both the world of contour and the world of bronzing, and I will list those for you so that you can investigate your options and see what would work best for you. And I will have a freebie, of course. There is a diagram that shows you exactly where to apply your contour and exactly where to apply your bronzer. If you are interested in finding out more about contouring for your face shape, send me a message because I do have diagrams for each face shape. If your face is round versus square versus oblong, there are slight different techniques that you can use to create the ideal shape, which is oval. So I would love to hear if you learned anything new today, if you want to share your favorite products or brushes, or if you have a question or a concern, lay it on me. I always personally answer all of the comments, both with my blog and on YouTube. So thanks so much for your time and attention. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's Michelle Fox Beauty. I sure hope that you subscribe, like this video, and share it with a friend who may find it useful. If you're on my blogs, go all the way down to the bottom, and there's a place where you can check to get on my newsletter. And there's tons and tons of freebies on my website. So if you're on my blog, you're on my website. So take a look around the other pages and you'll be really amazed at all the free opportunities there for amazing beauty resources just for you. I will be back next week and I can't wait to chat with you more about mature skincare and beauty. I'll see you then.